But seriously though, you're gonna add in file input to the plugin manager, but not Boolean input or drop-down selection? I mean, come on. So with the 1.5.0 update to RPG Maker MV, a secret feature was added to the editor that wasn't initially evident, that being the capability to now make a wide range of different parameter types for your plugins. As you can see on screen, once a plugin is formatted right, they have access to an assortment of object inputs. Because of this, I like to call these new types of parameters object parameters. Now in this video, I'm going to explain how to set up the folders and labels for your object parameters, along with a quick overview of all the different types of object parameters and how one may format them into their plugin. Let's get straight into things. To start, if you want a parameter to appear as, I guess you'd call a child of another parameter, simply use @parent, then the param name of the child parameter. For example, we can make quest 1, 2, and 3 be children of the quests parameter by setting things up like this. And here's how it looks in the plugin manager. You can also make it so children have children, creating an infinite tree structure for your parameter setup. Next are labels. Simply do @text next to any parameter to change the name as it appears in the plugin manager. The code and the structure are still going to use the same param name, but you can use this to make it appear as something else in the editor. This is also helpful for plugin translation, as it's no longer necessary to change the code itself to translate the parameters. Now, on to the object parameters themselves. Currently there are 8 types of object parameters: text, note, number, file, object selector, boolean, select, and combo. To start, text is the default form we've been using up until this point. If no type is defined, this is what will be used. For its default value, any plain text may be input, like so. Next is note. This is pretty much a multi-line text input. Use @type note to use it for a parameter. Furthermore, in order to set up a default value, you'll have to use JSON formatted string. This means everything on one line and using \n for a new line. For example, if we do quote hello \n, goodbye \n, how are you, end quote, this is how the default value will appear. After that is number. This is an input that forces a plugin users to input a number value. Use @type number to make it happen. Furthermore, you can customize even more restrictions. One of them is the range of the number that can be input. Use @min and @max to define the minimum and maximum values allowed. Furthermore, use @decimals to define the maximum amount of decimal places allowed. If the input does not meet the defined standard, it is converted into a value that will once the OK button is pressed. As for inputting default value, you can simply input a raw number. The following type is a file. It lets users select an image or audio file. Use @type file to make it work. Doing so will give you this setup here. If you wish for it to force a specific directory for finding a file, use @dir, then the file path formatted like this. Finally, if you wish for this defined asset to be included within the exported projects using exclude unused files, you can input a require one like this to make it happen. For the default value, it depends on whether or not you've defined a directory. If you haven't, you'll need to set it up like this, slashes and everything. Otherwise, if the directory is defined, the asset name can simply be placed like so. Now, the object selector has quite a bit of variety. It lets you define a dropdown for any of the main data types within RPG Maker MV. This being animations, actors, classes, skills, items, weapons, armors, enemies, troops, states, tilesets, common events, switches, and variables. Simply input the corresponding type and you'll pretty much be good to go. As for the default value, everything is stored by their ID, so simply input the number ID you wish to appear by default, or 0 for none at all. The Boolean type lets you choose either true or false. Simply use @type Boolean. If you wish to change the names of the true or false buttons, simply use @on or @off with the names you desire. For setting a default value, simply input a raw true or false. The select type makes a dropdown with predefined options. Use it with @type select. To define the options, you can simply place multiple @options next to the parameter. Furthermore, you can assign separate values to each of the options by adding the @value tag under each of the corresponding options. This means if a certain option is selected, that value you see right there is what's going to be given to the code itself. For the default value, use the option name for an option that doesn't have a value defined, otherwise use a value of the option itself. The combo type is similar to the select type, only it allows users to define their own choice also. Use it with @type combo. Once again, use the @options tag to make multiple options. However, keep in mind the @value tags from before are no longer compatible with this object parameter. Keeping that in mind, due to the nature of this type, you can place any text for the default value, but I would personally recommend placing one of the options you already defined. And that is about it. Now, I know a couple of you are going to say, hey, you forgot like lists and structures and how to parse the information, but we'll get to all that stuff in future tutorials. In this tutorial, we've gone over all the basic stuff, and that's good enough for today. Anyway, if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a thumbs up, a comment, comment your favorite parameter setup. Anyway, a link to the original forum thread will be linked in the description of this video, so go check that out if you want more information or less information. I don't know how much information is there. But, yeah, so, until next time.